Okay, so what we're saying, telling us is that there is no difference before the Eibishter. There really isn't a difference between the upper worlds and the lower worlds. It's all merely a ray and a glimmer. And from his name, and he's using these different metaphors: a ray, a glimmer, a name, or the last letter of his name. And so, to all the differences that there are in the world come from the different, and that's we went into the subject we were talking about last week, the different letter formations with which the Eibishter created the world. We use the example of DNA. All right?
You know, I can't see you. Not that it matters, but
oh, sorry.
Can't see you.
There we go.
Oh, shouldn't have said anything.
Okay. So all the different changes that there are comes from the different sirufei eisi, as we were talking about last week. So the different letter the way the letters of the with which he created the world, the different letter formations, which the Alter Rebbe speaks at length about in the second part of Tanya and Shayichet V'Emunah. Now, if you look just in the middle of a line, just about a third of the page down, all right, you see that? As that's he's referring to Shayichet V'Emunah. Aval, let's start from there today. Okay, we're holding.
And where?
Just about a third of the page down, right after the parentheses.
On which page?
Sorry, Kuf Yud.
Right.
Because the camera is off today. However, regarding the Eibishter himself, the essence of the Eibishter Ksiv, it's written, and the Havayah Shanisi. I, the Eibishter, have not changed at all. Whether it may be the perceived changes, which to us seem to be changes. For example, the changes that there are in the Hishtalshalus, in the descent, in the progression of a Lakus from the Eibishter up there down to here. It looks like a very big change. Merem HaMailos, from the highest of all levels, ad lemata mata, till below, very much below. The reality, however, is that exactly as he is, Motzui, found in the Elyonim, in the upper worlds, Kachu Mamash B'Shava B'Tachtenim. He's exactly the same way found in the Tachtenim. Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. That's where the song comes from. There is no difference between above and below. And the same Lakus which is up there is down here. As the Alter Rebbe says in the first part of Tanya, chapter 51. So too, there's no difference up there and down here, and so too, there's no difference bein b'bchinas shinui hazman. There's no difference in time. There are times more or times less. No, time is not a factor in the Eibishter. Ani Hashem lo yishanisi. There's no change, as we just said. Not time doesn't make a change either. Shekmei shahayahu levadehu yochid u'miyuchad. Just as he was levadei alone, yochid u'miyuchad, unique. An individual, before the 6 days of creation, so to kachu ata, so to who he is now, after the creation. Now, this is a subject which is discussed at length in many places in Chassidus. The Pasuk says, "Ani havaya leishanisi," Hashem has not changed. What do you mean Hashem has not changed? Look around, and you see a major change. There was before the world was created, there was nothing. And now look what there is. This seems like a very big change. There's past, there's present, there's future. Time seems to be a change. Ishtalshalus. So he says all of that is not a change. It's exact. The Eibishter hasn't changed at all. He's exactly the same way as he was before the creation. Why is that? This is because because all of this, which we perceive as change, is really, to us, it seems like a change. But to him, it's ka'ayin ve'efes mamash. It's totally insignificant. It says nothing. It says naught. Compared legabe mehusei v'atzmusei. To his mehus and atzmus, the essence of the Eibishter, it is all nothing. And therefore, what we perceive as a big change is really a change to us. In our terms, in our way of looking at things, in our perception. But as far as the Eibishter is concerned, meaning when we say the Eibishter means Mahusei Vatzmusei, the very essence of the Eibishter, it's all Ka'ayin ve'efes, that's nothing, and therefore there's no change. Ukmoi, for example, ois echad midibure shel adam. Like, for example, take one letter from your speech. Even from one's thought. That one letter from one's speech or one's thought. Legabe klolus muhusa nefesh asichlis vatzmusa. Compare that with the whole essence of one's intellectual soul. We have a mind with a subconscious, a back of the mind and a front of the mind, and all sorts of different things. And then it comes down to the front of our mind, and we think about it. Then we're going to think what we're going to say and how we're going to say, and then we say.
And that's why I'm opening the lock for you.
Second. There we go. And finally, when we talk, and there's sentences, and there's words, and there's letters, how insignificant is one letter to the whole big operation of our nefesh hasichlis, of our minds? It's totally insignificant. That's what he's using here as an example. Like one letter from the dibur of a person, or afilu machshavtei, or even one's thought. Legabe, compared to klolus muhus nefesh hasichlis vatzmusa, compared to, or in relation to, the entire being and essence of the nefesh hasichlis, the intellectual nefesh, the rational nefesh. It's totally insignificant, one letter. How many words have you spoken in your life? How insignificant is one of those letters, let alone the word, right? Not just the word, not just the letter, the word. He's talking about a letter from all of the words that we may have spoken. So, derech mashal, metaphor. This is a way of a mashal. The shakech is oizen, to appease the ear. So to give meaning, to give us some sort of significance, some sort of understanding of the insignificance of all of the creation, that all that the Eibishter made, how insignificant it is before the Eibishter. He gives us an example. He says, Al derech mashal is one letter from all of our speech throughout all of our lives. How insignificant is that one letter? And by the Eibishter, all of his creation, with all of, say, the Ishtalshus, the worlds, Al Yenim and Tachtenim, the upper worlds and the lower worlds, the whole thing is even less significant than one letter that you and I speak throughout our lives. Be'emes, and the truth is, Ein Areich Eilecha. There is no comparison to you at all, Ksiv, it's written. The single letter that you have in your thought or in your speech, it has some erech, it has some comparison, a very small one, but it takes up some space in our lives. But by the Eibishter, Ein Areich Eilecha Klal. Even this mashal we give is not, the Eibishter there's no comparison to him at all. So it's even less than one letter in all of our power of speech or thought. As is written elsewhere, okay. As Alter Rebbe explains earlier in Shari Chadruna Perek Tes, where he speaks about this at length. Okay, so what are we saying over here? It's not getting complicated. What he's telling us over here is he's going through different levels of the Eibishter's involvement in the world. Not just the Eibishter's involvement in the world, but the Eibishter's involvement in the worlds. And all of that is like nothing before the Eibishter. And what he's, like we said last week, this is a long-winded sentence. This is all to drive home what is the Rachmanis on our Nefesh Elikis, on our Neshama. That the Neshama has to come down into this world. Okay, but think about what this world is and how far it is from the Eibishter, how distant it is, how lowly it is, and all of this world is nothing compared to the Eibishter. So the Neshama has to go to such a place. The more, he says, the more, as he said at the bottom of 218, 3 lines from the bottom. This is from the Tvuna and the Das B'Gdulas Hashem. This comes from insight and understanding the Gdula, the greatness of the Eibishter. The more you understand the greatness of the Eibishter, the more you'll realize the Rachmanis on the Neshama. And that's what he's telling us over here. Now we have a whole new picture and a whole new understanding of the greatness of the Eibishter by using, for example, the mashal of one letter from our power of thought or power of speech, how insignificant it is. And the Eibishter is ein areich at all. It's not even comparable to that. So we don't even begin to understand the greatness of the Eibishter. We don't even have a proper mashal, because any mashal is already be'ein areich. Sorry. And this is what we say in davening. Hamelech hameremon levade me'oz. Okay, you remember this line? This is the line we say right after Yishtabach in the paragraph of Hameir La'aretz. So we say over there, Hamelech hameremon, the king who is Reim, who is high, who is exalted, levade, alone, me'oz. Me'oz means from then. Literally, oz means then. From then, meaning from the beginning, from before time. What does that mean? That he is the melech who is king and alone, me'oz, from then. Pirush, this means k'mei me'oz, just as from then, before time. What was this? What was the status? Hoyehu levadehu kedem habriya. Pirush k'mei me'oz, just as then, kedem habriya, before creation. Hoyehu levadehu, he himself was alone, and apart from him, nothing else existed. So too, we're saying in davening every day, Kach ata, so too it is now. He is meruma, merema v'chulu, u'misnase mimei. He is exalted and he's elevated, misnase elevated, mimei beyond the yimei the days of the world. Nothing has changed. That's what we're saying in this line of davening. Pirush means shuram v'nisa l'may b'chinas man. That he is Ram, Venisa, he is higher, he's elevated higher and transcends L'mayla Mayla B'chinas Zman, much higher than the whole idea of time. He's beyond time. Hanikra B'Shem Yimei Selam, time is what's referred to as Yimei Selam, the days of the world. And here is saying that he's Merumam Misnasim Yimei Selam, higher than Yimei Selam, higher than time. The essence of the Eibush is higher than time. I know, so this means this is so because Shechai is called Yimei Selam, because the energy for all of the time, all the years, all the days of the world, his Rak B'Chinas HaMelech, only comes from the level of the Eibishter, known as Melech, known as Malchus, the sphere of Malchus. So it's the Melech which makes the world. As is explained, as the Alter Rebbe explains elsewhere, again, he's referring here to Shayichud Ve'emunah, where he speaks about this whole subject. So when we say Hamelech Hameremam Levade Me'oz, he is the king who's exalted from then. It means from before time and higher than time, and that's current now as well. And that this whole world is only for the level of Hamelech, from the Eibishter's level of Malchus, which we know that Malchus is the lowest level. Okay, that's the end of that long-winded sentence explaining to us how distant and how sublime the Eibishter is from this world. Therefore, the Ilozos, now he comes to tell us, now when you think about that, and the more you understand that, 2 lines on the bottom, V'ilazais harachmanos. Therefore, it follows that the rachmanos gedela me'ed me'ed. The rachmanos is very big. Me'ed me'ed. The rachmanos is gedela. On the rachmanos on al nitzutz, on al hanitzutz, on the spark hashechin beguf, which is dwelling in the body. Hachoshuch, the dark body. V'ha'ofel, the gloomy body. Mishcha dechavia. An expression from the Zohar, the hide of the snake, the skin of the snake. The snake is a symbol of Klippa, and this is what covers the skin of the snake. And this is what the neshama is having to tolerate, and that's the environment in which the neshama is being sent down to into this world. The more you'll understand what we just learned in this page of the Alter Rebbe's letter, the more you'll realize the terrible Rachmanas it is on your neshama. If I don't realize the gravity of this terrible Rachmanas, it means I don't properly understand how great the Eibishter is. So therefore he says that Achmanos is Gedela Meid Meid. This is a tremendous, the feelings of compassion are extreme over here. So how does the neshama survive all of this? In the skin of the snake, lule, if it were not for the fact Shakadosh Baruch Hu mogidle, if it were not for the fact that the Eibishter was protecting the person or the neshama, and giving him strength and might, lilchem im aguf, to battle with the guf, the tavesav and its passions, ulanotzchen, and to win them. It's the Eibishter that helps out to make it's the Eibishter that helps, because on our own the guf will drag the neshama down to no end. So for that we have lulei, if not for the fact that Hakadosh Baruch Hu was making lei, v'neisen la'ez v'sa'atzumes lilchem imaguf v'tavesav ulanotzchen. And this is what we continue in Hameir La'aretz, and we say v'zeu sha'imrim, the continuation of this Hameir La'aretz. Adeinu Zeinu, he is the master of our strength. Mogin Yishenu, the shield of our Yeshua, of our salvation. So what we're saying over here is Adeinu Zeinu, Mogin Yishenu. We are affirming that the Eibishter provides us with this air, with this energy, with this light, to be able to overcome ourselves, to be able to overcome the challenges for the nefesh elokis, for the neshama, for the nitzutz, whatever word you want to use, that is the body, and that is Elam Hazeh. So it's Adeinu Zeinu, Tzumir Skabeinu, Mogin Yishenu. This is what helps us. Okay. So now we understand this is the first part of his analysis here, to explain to us, to express to us in short, what is the problem. Now we've identified the problem. And therefore, this is the Rachmanis that we're meant to have. We started off the letter saying that Midas Yaakov Avinu is Rachamim, and in Avedas Hashem, that is the Rachmanis. How do we serve the Eibishter through the Midah of Rachamim? That is by having Rachmanis on our Nefesh Elokis, on our Neshama. How do we have Rachmanis on our Neshama? By understanding in what type of situation the Neshama has been placed. Okay. Now, so we're on the fourth line now, the beginning, fourth line. It's well known, there are two types of love and awe of the Eibishter. We learned about these two types already in the previous letter that we learned in Iggeres Hakodesh Daled, in number 4. Remember, one of them is that comes out of our seichel, when we are able to develop a love and awe of the Eibishter, and the other one is one that he instills in us. Right? It's well known that there are two types of tchilu, awe, rechimu, and love. Harishene is the first ones. They are the ones that are born me'atvuna v'das b'gdulos Hashem. They're the ones that are born from the tvuna and das, from the understanding, using our minds to be able to understand to the best of our capability, the gdulos Hashem, the greatness of the Eibishter, and learning things learning things which are going to lead towards an avas Hashem and the awe of the Eibishter. All right, we discussed this at length last time. That's one type of level of tchilu rechimu, of awe and love of the Eibishter, which comes from our own efforts. Therefore, everybody will be different depending on what we're capable of and depending on how much we invest to make it happen. But v'achreinos, the second level of tchilu rechimu, these are the ones that aren't coming from our own efforts, but rather hinabois achakach milamayla. They come afterwards, milamayla, from above, b'pchinas matana, as a gift. Now I don't remember if the Alter Rebbe uses the word achakach earlier when we did in the Iggeres Hakodesh Dalet. Here the Alter Rebbe is telling us it's not that you have it; it will come to you. You have it, but you'll only be able to appreciate it or experience it after you've done all that you can do, or after you've done something. After you've put in some effort to achieve Tchilu Rechimu through Tvuna, through understanding, you've invested your head, you've invested your time to learn and to be able to understand and to be able to develop a Ava and Yira to the Eibishter, Tchilu Rechimu. After that, he's telling us over here, then, Achakach, he says, the Eibishter is going to give you the higher level. Matana, it'll be as a gift.
I thought, excuse me, Rabbi Kim, I thought that isn't that you have the pintele id that even a person, a kal shabakam, is ready to be moise nefesh for the Eibusha because he has the ava mefuteris that didn't come from tfuna, but it comes out because it's touched his. So that's not. Isn't that the ava mefuteris?
Okay, that's a very good point. Now but you answered it in your question. It's mesuteres. It's hidden.
But it comes out.
Oh, when does it come out?
Not through tvuna, not after he thought about it.
Exactly. It comes out when in an extreme situation.
But
if you want to have the ava, the tchilu rechimu in your normal, regular, healthy life, not when you're at the stake, not when they're trying to kill you, that if you want to experience a higher level of tchilu rechimu, that's going to, you have to put an effort. If no one, what you're quoting is from the Alter Rebbe says earlier in Tanya, is it Mevov, I think, that no matter what, a Yid has that nitzutz, that pintele Yid, and when do you see it coming out? In extreme situations. What we call today, people are ready to die as a Jew, but find it very difficult to live as a Jew. Here he's telling us, we're not talking here about dying as a Yid. Of course everybody has that. You have, as a Jew, you have the capability of having that nitzutz, that pintele Yid revealed today. Not just in an extreme situation where chas v'shalom, someone is about to kill you. Now, how can you have it revealed today? That's going to have to come as a result of your work. You're going to have to put some work into it. You're going to have to invest and develop your own tchilu rechimu. What he's talking about over there, what you're mentioning, is someone who has not invested and not revealed or come in contact or experienced any tchilu rechimu for the Eibishter, but there comes an extreme situation. A Yid never wants to be separated from the Eibishter. That's true. Here we're talking about to be able to have this tchilu rechimu in a practical way, that one should be able to experience it and benefit from it. So he's telling us that this will come after the Yid has invested some time and energy and seichel to make it happen. When you've done what you can do, the Eibishter will give you as a matana this level of tchilu rechimu as well. That this level of tchilu rechimu is not reserved only for the last moments of Mesiras Nefesh, where the pintele Yid has to reveal itself. This is something that, in theory, everyone can have every day. You got to work for it.
But isn't it also there? Let's say you stop somebody, put on tefillin. Why would that person want to put on tefillin, stam on the street? Is because he has that ava mesuteres. Isn't that also there?
Okay.
So that's not because he's at stake. That's because he has. That's without his tvuna. But
So again, that ava mesuteres is still mesuteres. You keep exactly. It's mesuteres.
The fact that he wants to put on tefillin, it means it comes. It wasn't that he had to think about it, and that's why he's putting on tefillin.
But that's the point. It's still mesuteres. Here we're talking about to experience the ava, not that it should remain hidden. That Yid put on tefillin because there is an ava mesuteres. He didn't even experience the ava who put on tefillin. He's doing tefillin whatever reason it is. He may have his gashmizdika reasons, but we know that there's also a machaya. It also gives a geshmak to the neshama. But he's not experiencing Ava V'yira in a tangible way. It remains Mesuteres. Here we're talking about to experience Ava V'yira in an opened way. So you first achieve your own Ava V'yira, and then David is going to give you the higher level as a gift. More than the Ava, which is Mesuteres. Right? The key word here is Mesuteres, which means it's hidden. We want to be able to have the Ava V'yira in a revealed way, not in a hidden way. So how do I have an Ava V'yira for the Eibishter? How do I develop an Ava V'yira? Or as is the word that's used today, how do I become inspired? The one who's putting on tefillin on the mitzvah tank isn't necessarily inspired. It could be curious, it could be tradition, it could be doing you a favor, it could be 1,000 gashmizdika reasons. We also know that this is also part of the Ava Mesuteres. That's true. But here we're talking about something else. The Alter Rebbe is talking about that someone who's working to have a relationship with the Eibishter. So through your understanding and learning, your investment of time and seichel, you will be able to achieve the Ava V'yira to the Eibishter and Tchila Rechimu, but to a certain degree. Then the Eibishter will give you more b'matana. Not misuteres, but revealed. Okay.
Thank you.
So v'achrena is this later Av Tchila Rechimu. That already Abo Achach Melamayla is given afterwards as a gift from above, b'chinas matana. After one has put in the effort. As is explained elsewhere, ala posuk and the posuk in the posuk Avedas Matana Etenis Kunaschem. So over there he speaks about the Kahanim and the Aveda the Eibishter gave them, the mitzvahs that the Kahanim have, that they are ones who are dedicated for the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash. So he says, I'm giving them Avedas Matana, I'm going to give the Kunaschem. The words of the posuk says, I will give them an Aveda as a gift. Shehi midas ha'ava, meaning this kahuna, this refers to the midah of ava, of love. So what's he telling us here? We have here an example that the Eibishter is giving a midah of ava. In the examples of the kahanim. We find this also with yira, v'chenu gam yira. That there is a yira that we achieve on our own, and then there's a yira which the Eibishter gives us as a matana milamayla. He doesn't bring a pasuk for it, but he just says the same, just as it is with Ava, the same thing is with Yira. Now, it's certain that Ein Arich Klal, that there's no erech, again, there's no comparison between Bein HaRishenes, between the first levels of Ava and Yira, Tchilu Rechimu, the first levels of love and awe, which is achieved by myself, Shehin Telis HaSeichel HaGavra, they are, what are they? They are products of the seichel of the person. So it's clear, certainly understandable that there's no comparison between our man-made or woman-made tchila rechimu, legabe hachrenes, legabe the later ones that we're talking over here about hachrenes, the one that's given to us as a gift from the Eibishter, shehum ha'abedi is baruch shmei, which they are given to us as a gift from the Eibishter, from the Creator. You can't compare the Ava V'yira that you are able to achieve in your own mind to the Ava V'yira that the Eibishter is going to gift you. Oh, and that's why these Ava V'yira, these Tchila Rechim that the Eibishter gives, they can be called genuinely emes. The ones that we have generated are a real Ava V'yira, but to use the word emes, I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I can't remember where we were learning. There's different levels of emes, right? There's truth, there's relative truth. Something that's true here may not be true there. Something that's true in the world of mathematics may not be true in the world of music. 2 plus 2 is 4 in math. But 2 plus 2, the Rebbe would give the example, maybe it's in Tanya, I can't remember, that the Gemara says that one person can carry, let's say one person can carry 10 pounds of weight. 2 people, by the rules of math, should be able to carry 20 pounds of weight. And yet, strangely enough, 2 people can carry 40 pounds of weight together. Why is that? And that's a fact. It's a physical fact. Because the rules of that mathematic equation, which works in math, doesn't work in physics. So there's emes, there's relative emes, there's all sorts of different emes. And that's what we have in Tanakh. You have, I can't remember where in Tanya the Alter refers to it. There's sfas emes, the edge of emes. There's different levels of emes. The ultimate emes la'amitai, is the Eibishter himself. So he's saying that this level of Ava Yira Tchila Rechima that comes from the Eibishter that's given to us, which is incomparable to the one that we achieve on our own, this is called V'lachein Hein Hein Anikrois B'Shem Emes. These Ava Yira, these Tchila Rechima that the Eibishter gives us, they are called Emes. Ki Chesama Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu Emes. Because the seal, the Chesem, the seal of the Eibishter is Emes. Shehu emes ha'amiti. This is the true emes, the true truth. V'chol emes shebenivroim, and all the different levels of emes that all of nivroim may have, him kalei chashivi kamei are considered as naught, as nothing before him. Because the Eibush is the absolute truth, so the Avavayira that comes from him is truth as well. Not that the lower levels of Avavayira are not true. Of course it's true, you develop an Avavayira through your learning, through your investment of time and mind, but it's a different type of, it's an emes based on my seichel. Someone else is smarter than me, or someone else invested more time and seichel into it, so their Avavayira is going to be a different level of Avavayira. Doesn't mean that mine is false Avavayira, but it's not like the emes of his emes. Like we said, emes is very different, depending where it is, right? So the emes is very relative. But the Eibishter, he's the ultimate emes, and therefore the seichel, the tchila rechimu, not the seichel, the Avavayira the Eibishter gives us, that's emes la'amiti. That's emes ha'amiti. The chol emes shenivroim kalei chashivi kamei. Okay. And that is the midas ha'emes. So we've explained what the rachmanis is, and we've explained what the true midas ha'emes is, and this is what the Eibishter was giving to Yaakov Avinu. Remember, we asked at the beginning. We asked the question at the beginning, at the end of the first paragraph. What does it mean? Titin emes liYaakov. Does Yaakov not have emes? So now we've explained what that emes is. First, to understand what is the midah of rachmanis, then which he goes at length. And then, in the shorter, the Alter Rebbe explains to us. Once we understand the greatness, the incomparable, the Ein Arich of the Eibishter and the Eilumis, we can then understand what is the midas rachmanis, the tremendous rachmanis that there is on the neshama, and how do we deal with this rachmanis through Avavayira. And in Avavayira, there's two levels: Avavayira that we achieve on our own, and Avavayira which the Eibishter gives us, and the one that he gives us, that's the emes. So we're saying Titan emes liYaakov. We're asking the Eibishter to give us that emes. Yaakov, in the broader sense of all of us. In addition to the emes that we ourselves have achieved and discovered, we're asking the Eibishter to give us his emes. Now, how do we do that? So what is the derech? What is the path whereby a person will merit, will be zeiche to the emes of Hashem? To the higher, emes Hashem now we're saying is the higher level of Avavayira, the higher level of Tchila Rechimu. He knew al yidei. This is done through al yidei she'eire rachamim rabim l'fnei Hashem. This is by arousing great rachamim, great compassion al hanitzut shebenafshei. By arousing great rachamim on one's nitzutz, one's spark in his nefesh, because that spark is shehim bidasa shel Yaakov. This rachmanos is the midah of Yaakov. So by arousing the rachmanis of someone's nefesh, that's when you arouse someone's compassion, they have to respond, right? That's the whole purpose of arousing somebody's compassion. So how do we get the Eibishter to give us his emes? By arousing his compassion. His compassion on what? On the nitzutz eliki, on this nitzutz, on this godly spark. Because Shehim Midasa Shel Yaakov, because this attribute of Rachmanos, of compassion, this is the attribute of Yaakov, as we said. And what's the significance of that? Is Mavriach Me'akotza Lakotza. Mavriach Me'akotza Lakotza is an expression that's used in the building of the Mishkan. That there was the Mishkan was built with beams, standing. It was a very unusual log cabin. Normally log cabins are built with beams piled on top of each other, right? You ever seen log cabins? Here, the Mishkan was also a log cabin, but it was built standing. Now, to build beam standing and a wooden beam standing is very difficult. So if you remember in Pashas Truma, it describes to us in great detail how the kroshim, the beams of the Mishkan were made. So there were bolts at the top, and there were sockets at the bottom. But when you have so many, and they're so big, and they're so heavy, that's not really enough. So what else had to be done was there had to be a pole going through the center of all the beams, which supported them from the middle of the beam. So it kept the middle, everything, it kept it stable. So that was the Mavriach Me'akotza Lakotza. That was the pole that was Mavriach, that it bolted from one end through the other end. Okay? That's what the words Mavriach Me'akotza Lakotza means. You learn in Pashas Truma, there was a miracle that this pole went through and it turned the corner, and then it turned the next corner, and it went all the way around the wall, the beams of the Mishkan, all three sides. Okay? So, this Mavriach Me'akotza Lakotza is a symbol of emes. Why is it a symbol of emes? Of the real emes, not a relative emes. A relative emes is like the word implies. It's emes under certain circumstances. 2 + 2 is 4 under certain circumstances. Like I gave you an example with the two people carrying a weight. It doesn't apply over there. So it's only a relative emes. What is a emes la'amite? An emes la'amite is something that's mavriach me'akotza lakotza. It's emes across the board. Under any circumstance, in whatever situation it is, this is emes. That's called emes la'amite. So he's saying that the midah of rachmanis is the Eibishter's midah emes. It is mavriach me'akotza lakotza. She midas shel Yaakov mavriach me'akotza lakotza. The hainu that means mereim hamaylis ad lamata mata, from the uppermost of all levels until lamata mata, till all the way down. Lahamshich emes Hashem la'ela mashafal hazeh achoshech. It is this rachmanis which is connected to the Eibishter's emes, which is going to bring from the highest of all levels to the lowest of all levels. Lahamshich, to draw down the emes Hashem la'ela mashafal, to draw down the emes of Hashem into Olam HaShafel Hazeh, into this lowly world, HaChoshech, dark, the dark world, which is dark. You want to bring the Eibishter down even into this world, you need to be able to appeal, to awaken the Eibishter's Midas HaEmes, and that comes through awakening the Rachmanis. As it's written, Ki Eishev B'Cheshech, when I sit in darkness, Hashem early, then the Eibishter is my light. Pasuk in Micha. When I sit in darkness, Hashem early. How is the Eibishter early? How does the Eibishter come down and give light in the darkness? That comes from the Eibishter's midas haemes. And this is the meaning of the pasuk in Tehillim that we say, Ki govar aleinu chazdei, that his kindness was govar, and overpowered or prevailed over me. That the Eibishter's kindness has prevailed over the darkness of the world. This is what it means. That you're able to awaken the Eibishter's chesed. Here he's talking about chesed. That is able to overpower even the greatest darkness. But in order for this to happen, in order to be able to awaken, to arouse the Eibishter's rachamim, which will lead for him to give us his emes, but this is edus of this tremendous rachamim before the Eibishter. This is the catch. The Hiseidirus Rachamim has to be be'emes as well from us. It has to be a genuine Hiseidirus of Rachamim. It can't just be, well, how do you describe what's a fake Hiseidirus of Rachamim or not? It means it can't just be, a person, okay, we read Iggeres Hakodesh Vav, I feel Rachmanis in my neshama, Shayin Eibishter, give me the higher level of Tchila Rechimu. No. It has to be, we have to put in the work, and it has to be also done with an emes. And even then, the Gam Kishu be'emes shalei, even when it is in one's true emes, in physical terms, what we consider emes, how is it even possible? He says, now he asks the question, how is this even possible? It makes sense on paper that when we will be ma'eded rachamim for our nefer, our nitzuts, then the Eibishter will give us the higher level of tchila rechimim, and that this rachamim has to be with our emes. That all makes sense on paper, but how taka? Practically speaking, you're saying, how's it possible? How is it possible? How can it be that through one's mortal emes, we'll be able to be rachamim emes Hashem, to be able to be ma'eded this tremendous the level of rachamim from the emes of the Eibishter? In other words, the classic question, how can anything we do here impact the Eibishter's decision and impact anything for the Eibishter? It's us. We've just learned at length how insignificant we are. And here comes here comes the appeal. Remember, most of the letters of Iggeres Hakodesh, he's talking about tzedakah. And we should make a list as we're going through them. Each letter, the Alter Rebbe is giving us a different insight, a different angle on the benefits of tzedakah. In the previous letter, we were learning about removing the foreskin of the heart. Remember, the thicker one and the membrane, and how do we do that? He explained to us at length by giving tzedakah, by willing to break ourselves and give from our own flesh and blood, and that's how we're able to do that. Here he deals with tzedakah from another angle. The solution to this problem of the infinite gap between creator and created, between the Eibishter and us, and that we should somehow be able to influence him. In this case, to influence him, to have rachmanis and give us his midas ha'emes, to share with us a higher level of tchila rechimu, a higher level of avayira. How is it possible we should be able to influence that? How are we going to bridge this infinite gap? Through tzedakah. The eitzah, the solution for this is midas tzedakah. Because what is unique about tzedakah? Shehi midas harachamim. What is tzedakah? Tzedakah is midas harachamim al man, the leslie megarmei. Tzedakah is a midah. What is tzedakah? Tzedakah is a compassion on someone who has nothing of his own. The leslie megarmei has nothing from his own. Or to use the words of Yeshaya, Navi lahachi is ruach shvelim, to revive the spirit of the shvelim, of those who feel lowly. So that when we give tzedakah, it's a rachamim on someone who has nothing on himself. Of himself, he has nothing. So how does that solve the problem? Ubi sarusa dilatata isarusa dilaela. Remember that in the last letter, same formula. When we do something here, it generates a corresponding movement above. When we have an isarusa dilatata, an awakening, an inspiration, an arousal here, it arouses the Eibishter's midah as well. So the awakening from below elicits an awakening from above, as it says in davening, Hashem me'erer yeshenim v'amekis nirdamim. He awakens the sleep. He awakens those who slumber. What is that? Who's sleeping and slumbering? Who are we looking to awake? Who are asking the Eibishter to awaken within us? The Ahava v'yira, the Tchila Rechimu, which is hidden. That's what Mrs. Cohen was saying earlier. Yes, it's hidden. We want it to be awakened. Not just awakened, God forbid, when someone wants to throw us in the fire in a situation of Mesiras Nefesh. How do we awaken Me'erer Yeshemim and make it Nirdomim, he's telling us over here, is awakening our dormant, sleeping Ahava v'yira of Hashem, our dormant, sleeping Tchila Rechimu. So how's that going to happen? By giving tzedakah. By giving tzedakah is midas harachamim, and this midas harachamim is going to awaken the Eibishter, that he should awaken he's going to inspire, so to speak, the Eibishter, to awaken those who are sleeping in me. And who's sleeping in me? My Ahava v'yira of the Eibishter. To awaken the great rachamim and chasodim elyenim, the supernal attributes of kindness, hane'elamim, which are concealed. So we're saying more than that. He's saying actually here, it seems like he's saying to awaken in the Eibishter, his rachamim holyenim, that he should then have compassion on us. That when we give tzedakah here, and that is what tzedakah. Tzedakah is having compassion on people who don't have anything on their own. So we are then asking the Eibishter to awaken his midas tzedakah, his midas rachamim, to have compassion on us. Lotzis ma'helim elagili v'ha'ara rabba. So that they can emerge from the helam, from the concealment, the lagili, to the revealed, v'ha'ora rabba, to shine greatly. So he's talking about both. To wake up, to awaken, to inspire the Eibishter's midas rachamim, we have to have rachamim here. And the result of that will be that he will me'er yeshenim and make it nedomim of our ava and yira of the Eibishter, which are lying asleep by us. That our ava misuteres, to use the words that Alter Rebbe used earlier, that the hidden love should no longer be hidden. To awaken our hidden love of the Eibishter, that it should become revealed, and it should become alive and relevant and active in our lives. So tzedakah is what's able to do that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Where does the midas harachamim of Yaakov Avinu, where does that come in into all this then?
Midas Harachamim is the symbol of Yaakov Avinu. So when we're saying Titin Emes LiYaakov, he's telling us, what does that mean? It's a pasuk. What does it mean, Titin Emes LiYaakov? Chesed Lavram. So he's saying Titin Emes LiYaakov, he said at the beginning, is serving the Eibishter through the Midah of Yaakov, which is the Midah of Rachamim. How do we serve the Eibishter Midah of Rachamim? That's what the whole subject was over here. By having Rachmanis on our Nitzuts. By having Rachmanis on our Neshama. That's how we're serving the Eibishter, through the Midah of Yaakov. The different paths of serving the Eibishter. Here he's talking about serving it through the path of Yaakov. There's another path called Chesed Lavram. Another path of the Gvura of Yitzchak. Here the subject here is the path of Chesed Lavram. Different ways of relating to the Eibishter, because we have different emotions. There's right.
But we inherit all that from the others, surely. So that's what gives us the extra whatever it is to be able to.
I understand the question. We inherit it from the others, and therefore.
So therefore, we have it. It's inside us. Is that the?
But we got to awaken it. We got to use it. It's like the Ava Mesoteres question we had earlier. Same thing. Yeah, we have it. Of course, we have it. How do we? We got to use it.
And that's the difference between a non-Jew and a Jewish person.
A Goy doesn't have a neshama. True, he doesn't have it inherited. But a Jew who has it also. You know, there's an expression on the neshama ba'apoy. They wish to blew the neshama into our nostrils. But if we are not, so we all have it. But where is it? In our nostrils. If we don't inhale, then it'll stay in our nostrils. We got to inhale it and make it a part of our lives. So here he's giving us an example how to take this inheritance of Yaakov, which is Midas Emes, and use it in our lives. Otherwise, yeah, we all have it, but what are we going to do? We have, you have some, unfortunately, sometimes we don't use it. We got to use it. So therefore, how are we going to be able to awaken the Eibishter Midas Rachamim? By having Rachamim on somebody else. And then that will awaken our Ava V'Yira, and make it Meir Yeshena, and make us Nedamim. It will awaken our. It will give us an earn for us. The Eibishter should give us the gift of Ava V'Yira, the revealing to us the higher level of Ava V'Yira. V'zeu loshen zriya nemer b'tzedakah. And this is the meaning of zriya, which is mentioned when it comes to tzedakah. Right, the beginning of our letter of this Iggeres, right, the very beginning, page 218, he quoted a pasuk from Mishlei, Zereya tzedakah, planting tzedakah, the reward of emes. Not that the reward will be an emes reward. Remember, we said this. The Alter Rebbe adds an interpretation here. The regular pshat is that they'll give you a reward, a truthful reward. The Alter Rebbe says, Peter, that the schar for Zereya, for planting tzedakah, will be midas ha'emes. So now he's coming to answer that question. What does that mean? That the reward will be the midas ha'emes. So first he says, let's understand the pasuk. What does it mean? Why does David HaMelech use the expression? Why does the Novi Hashea use the expression of zeriah, of planting, when it comes to tzedakah, zeriah tzedakah? Lehatzmiach emes ha'elyon, because we're looking to grow. It should sprout the emes ha'elyon, which is emes Hashem. By giving tzedakah, it's like planting. And when you plant, something eventually sprouts. And what we're aiming to achieve from the perspective of tzedakah that Alter Rebbe is teaching us over here is that by giving tzedakah, we should be able to see a sprouting of the emes Hashem, the emes ha'elyon. So the metaphor, so the usage of the word zereah makes very much sense. Okay, so that's in general tzedakah. So we understand the science of how it works. Giving tzedakah is a serusa de la tata, which will achieve your corresponding serusa de la eila, and to awaken the Eibishter's rachmanis on us, because we had rachmanis on others. Very good. Now he says, especially b'frad b'tzedakah v'chesed shel emes, especially when we give tzedakah and chesed shel emes, and now he's using this word of chesed of emes, not just the chesed, but now it's talking the chesed for the purpose of emes. He's calling it chesed shel emes, tzedakah and chesed shel emes she'esim im Eretz Hakodesh, that's being performed for the benefit of Eretz Hakodesh, of the Holy Land. Tibonu v'sekenim b'meiru b'meiru amamosh, the Holy Land may be built and established speedily in our days. Amen. Especially this works, special power it has in awakening the Eibishter's emes. The awakening the Eibishter's rachmanis to give us emes is by giving tzedakah to the Holy Land. L'kayim mashikosov, to fulfill that which is written, emes me'eretz titzmach. So here he brings another pasuk in Tehillim that emes will sprout from the oretz. So the literal meaning, emes me'eretz titzmach. And here the oretz is referring to which oretz? Eretz Yisrael. How? By sowing tzedakah in Eretz Yisrael, then emes will come out of it. And all of the chesed and the many compassions which are gathered, v'nilkotim, and the sofim are gathered, nilkotim is gleaned in it. So all of the chesed that's being performed, particularly for tzedakah for Eretz, it's in general, but particularly for the tzedakah of Eretz Yisrael, they awaken and arouse also chasodim elyenim, corresponding chasodim from above, hatzfunim, which are hidden, v'ne'elomim, and concealed, or Benusachacha, another version of Tehillim, hatzfunim and bo, in it. As it's written, Morav tuvcha tzofanta l'reyecha. How great is your kindness which you have hidden. So that the land is established and set up firmly. So this is early 1800s, and the Alter Rebbe is already working hard to establish to build up Eretz Yisrael. And this is the meaning of the pasuk. The end of tzedakah techeineni. Through tzedakah you shall be firmly established. The establishment of the pasuk is talking about the establishment of Knesset Yisrael over here, and he's talking here that through tzedakah we'll be able to establish Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, does the same thing apply today about Eretz Yisrael?
Very much so. And today it applies to the tzedakah. What the Alter Rebbe here specifically was talking about is I think I mentioned earlier, is the tzedakah of Keilel Chabad, which the Alter Rebbe established then. And that's the oldest existing ongoing charity of Eretz Yisrael till this very day. And the Rebbe would write a letter every year, or 2 letters every year regarding this matter. And this is particularly unique to Keilel Chabad, where the Alter Rebbe gave it all of these brachas, that this is what's going to give us, to earn us the chasadim al-yenim of the emes from the Eibishter. That's why the Rebbe wanted everyone should have a Keilel Chabad pushka at home. The Rebbe had one on his desk. It was the only pushka the Rebbe had on his desk. Every time the Rebbe went to the oil, the Rebbe would send a check to Keilel Chabad. For especially in the last year, the Rebbe was, from what I understand, he was sending a check $100 each time, and the Rebbe was going 3-4 times a week.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So since